Hello, 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 everybody. It's me, Karen Maloney, and welcome back to another podcast, Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. And if you are listening on your usual platform, whether Spotify or Apple, nothing has changed. But if you are watching on YouTube, you will see that I'm here, I'm live, I'm on video as well. So again, if you're on the platform, Spotify or whatever, nothing has changed. But I've decided to record video as well going forward because you know what? So much is shifting for me personally, for humanity as a collective, as a species, and it just feels like time to be seen. And I mean that in so many different levels as well, not just visually seen, but seen in my true work and what I came here to share. You know, some of you might know that I've worked and called myself an inside out coach for years because everything comes from within. We are the creators of our life. We hold all the power, every answer, everything we're looking for lies within. And that has been the journey I have been on personally myself for the last 10 years consistently. Before that, I read all the books, I had all the information, but I didn't have any practice. And I'm in Ireland at the moment, and it's absolutely pissing rain outside. So if you hear the rain, if that's picking up in the sound belting against the window, I'm sorry, can't do anything about the weather. Um, so this has been my own personal journey, and it's why I do what I do because I have changed and I have shifted so much from the inside. In one sense, I can say I'm a completely different person, but that's not really true. I feel I am my most authentic expression of who I've always been, but that's not who I lived as for most of my life. Yes, to the outer world, people would have seen that, but the question that I have today and what I want to touch on today is who are you when you're on your own? Who are you when you're with yourself? Who are you when there's no one else around? Because that's the real incongruency for a lot of us because when we are with others, sometimes we are forced, and I don't mean forced in a disingenuous way, but we're kind of, in one sense, looking outside of ourselves so we can be our confident, bubbly self, or however people perceive us. I think that's a true aspect of us. But then when they're not there, how do we feel? And I know for me, ooh, I felt very, very different. When I was around others, people would have always called me like super confident and certain of myself and very, what would be the word? I think they'd nearly say they were afraid of me, as in I was so certain of myself in certain aspects. And that's true in one sense, but also I was very defensive. I was very much in black or white, right or wrong. But then when I was by myself, I felt extremely low, not good enough, like a lot of feeling down, depressed, broken, and also super like angry and defensive, especially around my family. It's often those people closest to us that kind of get the brunt of it because I was so disconnected from the truth of myself. And honestly, I felt this massive inner conflict and I didn't know why. I could be one way with friends and they see me as upbeat and positive and happy, which I was all those things. I've always been kind of upbeat and positive and happy. But again, when I didn't have to be, quote unquote, when there weren't others around where I kind of had to effort and move outside of my low level daily feeling, when I didn't have to do that, I actually felt quite low, and I often questioned and wondered why I was so touchy or moody or defensive or angry and snap. Oh my God, I would snap, especially like that at my family who got the brunt of it. So, and this question kind of sat with me for a long time. Like, how could I be so different? How could I have such inner conflict? How could I be such two different people? And it comes down to our own nervous system that both were realities. They both were me, but the person that people saw me as and who I was to the world was actually the true aspect of me. I truly was that confident, happy-go-lucky, upbeat, inspiring, motivating, like seemingly like I had it all together, calm, capable person. That was the true me. But I didn't live there consistently. I couldn't hold that frequency completely because my nervous system, there was too much, oh, trauma, unprocessed emotions, limiting beliefs, all that kind of stuff that would drag me down. And that's why it's so important when we are coming to manifest our life, to create change in our life, we have to work from the subconscious programs because that's running 95% of our lives. And even though I could be my true self momentarily around others when I really kind of had to effort, I couldn't hold it consistently because, again, our nervous system, that subconscious mind, is the autopilot. It holds our frequency, and that was my baseline. So I could have these heightened moments of being my true self, but then when there was no quote unquote reason to keep at that level, I couldn't. I'd be back down to my baseline, which was that more a kind of egoic shadow side where we just feel like there's something wrong with us and we're not good enough or whatever our own story is, which is never the truth. We are all perfect, whole, and complete. Like my new course is called Unlimited Luminous Self. We are a spirit having a human experience. That is the truth of who we are, this higher luminous spirit self, our soul. But we get disconnected because we're so stuck in the density and the human and the ego and the problems, and there's something wrong with me that we forget that part of ourselves. And I think that's part of awakening and the inner work and the life human journey in general. It's to unlearn everything that we're not, to dissolve it, to let it go, so we can be and vibrate and hold the frequency of our higher self. And it's funny, sorry, my nose kind of running. It's funny when I think back as well, because back then I felt like that, such a disconnect, such an inner conflict, such a divided sense of self that, and I call everything a medicine that people turn to. I think we're so highly intelligent that we will turn to something to meet a need within ourselves that supports. But like everything, a medicine can become a poison, and we need to know the balance of that because we do ultimately have to go within, have to feel what's not been felt, and look at our own thoughts and all of this to create lasting change. And when we don't do that and we keep running and avoiding and suppressing, that's when a medicine becomes a poison. And it's really interesting, even when I think back on alcohol. Like I would use alcohol, and again, I wasn't conscious, but when I would go out, I would feel my energy rising and I would feel like my true self. And I can see how it was a medicine in that sense that it would raise my vibration enough to move me out of that baseline low level feeling, and I would feel happier, lighter, more me, more funny, more confident, more whatever, to a point. Whereas now it's nearly the opposite. Now my vibration is so high that when I drink alcohol, it actually brings me down. I can have one and you're like, ooh, you feel that little buzz, but then after that, it actually brings me down because my vibration is so high. It's the opposite. Because I've shifted from the inside and my frequency is so much higher now, it doesn't hold the same weight or it doesn't give the same benefit. But it did. And I can see that now. And I can see how it was really beneficial as well at the time too. And I don't really know why I've gone off in this tangent. It's just what's coming through, that I think when we feel so disconnected, and I believe we're all disconnected from ourselves in one aspect, it's part of the human predicament. I see and believe now from my own journey and my own work on many levels. It's part of the human predicament that we come into this body, we forget our truth, and then part of the human experience is remembering that as well. But society is kind of perfectly set up for us to keep distracting, whether that's through shopping, alcohol, gambling, Netflix, mindlessly scrolling on our phone, whatever it is. Sorry, I need to take a drink of water. Whatever it is perfectly set up to keep us away from our true selves. Because when we're really connected and living as our true, luminous, high vibrational spirit self, you're no longer in survival. You're no longer in fear. You're no longer controlled and manipulated and looking for a feeling or something outside of you to give you a feeling, because ultimately that's what we're all looking for. It's not actually the thing, it's how it makes us feel. And that was like me, the alcohol, it made me feel more alive. It gave me a buzz. It gave me literally a sense of aliveness, because like that was part of my story. I was completely numb and shut down emotionally. So it gave me that feeling. So even when we look at something that we think, whether it's money, relationship, a house, a promotion, it's not really the thing we're looking for. What we're actually looking for is the feeling that we believe that thing will give us. And that's our power as a conscious creator, that we can actually choose to feel that feeling before the thing, which is a whole other level. That's how we cause and effect in our reality. That's how we work with the quantum. That then, when we begin to feel this way first, it collapses timelines and causes our reality to rearrange. So it brings us that thing paradoxically, but we're not efforting, we're not overexerting, we're not using human energy per se to hustle and control matter with matter, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says. We're creating that sensation within us, first of all, that we believe it will give us. So then that causes our external reality to change. But that's kind of going off on a tangent. And when it's been calling me for ages, my higher self, my luminous self, to get on camera, to record videos, to show up in that way as well. And there's so many things coming through of, well, where do I start? What do I share? Do I go back? Do I tell my story? Like all these kind of different things. But this was just coming through today, that, that key aspect of why I do what I do as well in the inner work, because we do live in an inside out world and we actually do have everything we need and all the power, but we have to be willing to, one, be aware, and be willing to take the time and do the work. And I think that question is so powerful. And this is the way I wanted to frame it initially. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when no one is watching? And now I've got to a place of congruency and coherence and connection to myself, that I'm me, whether people are watching or not. I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my journaling, I'm doing my breath work, I'm doing my exercise, I'm doing my healthy eating, I'm doing all the things now that have become a lifestyle and second nature to me, whether people are watching or not. I'm not doing it for Instagram. I'm not doing it to be looked up to. I'm doing it because it's who I fundamentally am. It is what makes me feel most alive and is most innate and natural to me, whether people are looking at me or not, whether I'm sharing online or not, whether I'm recording a podcast or not. Whereas before, that was very different. When nobody was watching, like I said, I felt extremely low, not good enough, hated myself, very hard on myself, very critical of myself, extremely snappy, moody, defensive, especially like that around loved ones. They were the only ones who'd really see it, not the external world, because, when you have different eyes, you're like, oh, I need to perform a little bit differently. And again, none of this, and I'm not saying anyone, none of this is fault and none of this was manipulative or contriving. This is just how I was programmed. This is how we are all programmed. And until we begin to take responsibility for ourselves and be willing to look within and to shift and to change, it's not going to change. But that question I just find so powerful. Who are you when you're not watching? Who are you when someone's not watching? Because that will give you a lot of information for yourself on whether you're congruent, whether you're aligned, or whether there is that inner conflict. And again, once you have that information, it's fine because it's just about closing the gap. And again, I love this journal exercise as well, that if you think, how would people describe you? How would the outside world describe you? And like that, they would have described me as confident, very certain and assured of myself, calm, relaxed, kind of have it all figured out type person who, yes, that is me. I'm still that, but now I'm congruently that. So, how would the outside world describe you? How would your friends, your family? I believe that's an aspect of our true selves. But then, how do you feel when you're on your own? And that can be that low level, like not good enough, always comparing, like a failure, like nothing works out. And then that's our piece to balance. So it's not like we're faking. I believe this is our true self, and we can use it as a guiding light. Well, how can I close the gap? What do I need to dissolve? What are some of the beliefs, the stories that no longer serve me that I can let go of? And what would make me feel more connected to this version of me? Like, what does this version of me love to do? Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's cooking. And the more that we begin to connect to that higher truth, and we let go of what's no longer serving us, the closer we get to that version, we're closing the gap. And again, there's loads of other ways to do that through tapping, breath work, theta healing, hydrogen water. So many different things help in that. But even having the awareness and journaling for yourself, I think is a really powerful first step. There's loads of noise going on in the background now as well. So maybe that's my cue to end this episode right here and leave you with that question of who are you when no one's watching? And when you are the same person, whether you're at home, whether you're in a corporate business room, whether you're with friends, whether you're with family, whether you're with whatever, when you are you, you are being authentic. You are connected to your higher self, your higher truth. If you are still molding, if you are different when no one is watching, if you're feeling very low, if you're feeling like you need to conform, like you need to belong, like you need to watch your P's and Q's, there is some incongruency. And again, I'm not saying like we all have a certain level of, let's say, even if it's within a business kind of setting, like I'm still me now. I still have the crack. I still am fun. I don't take things so seriously sometimes, but I'm professional. I've got that head hat on, but there's still a level of congruency. So again, just a question to ponder, to think about, to put out there. And welcome again if you're watching on YouTube. There's going to be videos with these podcasts going forward like that. The usual audio platforms are just going to be audio, but feel free to reach out as always, support at KarenMaloney.com or check out my website, KarenMaloney.com. Talk to you soon. Bye.